following segment is sponsored by Graves McLain. So what happens after you've had an accident and you're trying to discover what kind of damages are recoverable and what isn't? The attorneys at Graves McLain can certainly help you out with that. Joining us via Skype this morning is Chad McLain with the answers to your questions. Good morning, Chad. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, if somebody is, I hear stories about people being rear-ended and somebody doesn't have insurance and they don't know what they're going to do to try to recover if they've got whiplash or other injuries. How do folks go about finding out what they're actually owed after an accident?
So you bring up a really good point in part of your question. So the first part that we look at is the liability in the accident, and you address that with the rear end accident. The second part is a coverage investigation, because we've found most people, there are a lot of uninsured drivers in Oklahoma, unfortunately, so that's kind of where we start. There are some means of recovery in the absence of insurance coverage, but that obviously is something when we go to the insurance company versus trying to collect from an individual. It's two different kind of tracks that a case can follow. The value of the case is going to be determined. There's a jury instruction in Oklahoma that kind of gives us a lot of guidance on the elements of damages. And so once we establish liability and then we establish whether or not there's coverage, the elements of the damages are your medical expenses, lost wages, impairment of earning capacity, and then of course there's, which is different than the injury claim, property damage claim. So if there's damage to your vehicle, you can recover that also. There's kind of subcategories under those main elements.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you in just a moment about what an attorney can actually do to help out, but I do have a quick question. My son is getting ready to turn 20, he's getting ready to get his driver's license, and I'm worried about insurance and what happens if he causes an accident. Do you have advice for somebody for insurance things on how you can maybe take some of the pressure off of yourself?
So there are two main things, and honestly the advice you get from insurance agent changes somewhat based on what they're being incentivized to sell with automobile insurance. But the two main things that I suggest that people get is a very high limit on your liability coverage, and then a matching limit on your or underinsured coverage in Oklahoma, because there are so many uninsured drivers.
Okay, that's great advice. Well, tell me this too. What can an attorney do if you're in an accident? How can an attorney help you recover more or better than you could on your own?
So the main thing is to contact us immediately. What we found is if people try to do it on their own and then they call us in 6 months after the accident, there's already been information exchanged and things that we could have addressed up front, we meaning attorneys could have addressed up front, that have not been addressed. Most of the time the insurance company is going to tell you that you have to give free access to your medical records and medical bills, all medical records and medical bills, and that's just not true. And so I know in my office, if I'm able to control the dialogue with the insurance company from the very beginning, then I bring tremendous value to the case, because that's what we do. I've been doing this for 20+ years. Our office is completely staffed and geared to handle specifically these kind of claims, so we know what we're doing.
Okay, so better do it sooner rather than later. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us and for the information. And if you have questions, if you're involved in an accident or you just want to know a little bit more, Graves McLain is at 4137 South Harvard. You can call them at 918-359-6600 or check them out online at gravesmclain.com, also on Facebook.